Africammers! How are you all doing? I am so excited to take you for the next 45 minutes through our different cameras and always happy to start it all, Donio. Well, I hope that you all are well. Remember that we're live and interactive, so do send through your hellos. Tell me how you're enjoying the show, what you've seen that's been interesting across the last week since we last spoke. And of course, any questions you have about what's happening right now. And if this is the first time that you're joining us for the Africam show, this is 45 minutes to go through the different cameras with a guide that can answer any of your questions. Ooh, I thought that was a rumble from the elephants, right, to just keep quiet, but it's actually a helicopter from up above. Now, I've been spending a lot of time over the last week, maybe 10 days or so, watching the El Doño Waterhole. I've seen the trucks come in and filling it up. And it's been really nice. I can truly understand the addiction of watching these cameras. Oh, here we have the one-tusk elephant. And I've been seeing one-ton quite a lot, which is always nice. We always have great discussions about one-ton. And earlier today, I saw him with his companion, the other elephant with the one tusk. Not this guy. Now, as you can see, the water hole's looking nice and full, and that's because of the trucks that's been coming through and filling it up. It's been, as you know, this water hole is always busy, and the zebras have really been giving it a go, kicking up a whole lot of water, and that pipe that feeds the water into the water hole has just not been able to keep up. But even there being a whole lot of water has not stopped the elephants from searching for that spout so that they could get the best, freshest water. Aussie Jan 2, you say good afternoon with a coffee, of course. Today, I have, what is this tea? Moroccan mint green tea. I needed a little bit of an afternoon boost, but unfortunately, Aussie Jan 2, I can't have more than one coffee a day. It affects me. Dear NC, you say good morning from a hot and sunny Seattle. You're happy to be here with a cup of strong coffee. Of course you are. And Ziggy, you say this is how you want to see all of Earth's animals, so peaceful and beautiful. This is how you want to see them, right? Just in a natural environment, going about their normal daily things, interacting with each other. It's stunning. And you say it warms your heart to see this. And thank you very much. We here at Africam love to bring you these shows. And it's not just about learning, it's also about giving yourself a break from the everyday life, from the human routine. Chris, first up, you say, hello, friends. You're happy to join us today, and thanks to everyone for the shows. You've got it. Very nice. Very simple. I like it. Very elegant. A glass of cool water. Very nice. Anyway, how about we head over to Founders? We'll come back to Eldonio in a moment, but there's a Blessbock. Hello, Blessbockies. Oh, it's nice to see them moving about. Now, usually when we head over to Founders, we see lots of, well, not lots of rhinos, but the most often, or the most sightings we get are of rhinos in this area. And usually I see two. I haven't seen more than two in one go, but that's usually when we cross over. And now to see some Blessbok, that's always a delight. Now, Blessbok are one of those antelope that I mean, they feel, looking at them, they might feel common, but the only time I've seen blessbok in person has been in the Eastern Cape, which is where Founders Lodge is. And I really, really enjoy watching them. I think they're beautiful antelope. They're in the El Celofini tribe, which means that they're related to things like wildebeest and bontebok, which look quite similar, hartebeest, tsetse. And I love that we have such a variety of antelope that we can watch. Rolling Trouble has rolled in, everyone. Hi from Washington. Of course, you have your coffee, we knew it. And we're thankful for your water too. Jean Gale says, made it, and about to pour your coffee. Oh, you coffee drinkers. Teddy Lad Lulu, you say, hi everyone from a miserable, rainy Cheshire. Afternoon tea is ready. Teddy Lad Lulu, I'm joining you with some tea. And Monica77, you say, good morning from Montana. You're back from safari in South Africa. What a wonderful place. It is a wonderful place to live. Monica, tell us how it went. What did you see? What was your highlight? Where did you go? The one thing I mean, there's so many things I love about our cameras and the opportunity that we can give anyone, anywhere in the world to enjoy our wildlife. But I always have this dream when I speak to all of you and I get to know you, however virtually, and the majority of you are somewhere overseas, usually in the northern hemisphere, and I wish for you all to come here and be able to experience it in person. So Monica77, let the rest of us live vicariously through you. Mr. H, UAE 87, hello. You say that today is World Snake Day. Thank you so much for letting me know. Actually, I think I did know. I just forgot about it because I've been coming across World Snake Day quite a bit over the last over the last few weeks. It's been quite a nice build up to it. And the thing about these conservation awareness days, or perhaps not, you don't think of it as conservation awareness, but animal awareness days, is that it allows us to focus on a specific animal or a specific species. And snakes, they're not the most loved by everybody. And maybe that's why they deserve quite a bit of attention. April Owl has come in. You say, good morning, everyone, from a hot and sunny Connecticut. Lemon and ginger iced tea in hand. And you're happy to be here at last. Now, as you can see, it's pretty windy, and if I know anything about the Eastern Cape, I can guarantee that that wind is chilly. But you don't have to take my word for it. If we have a look at the blessbok in front of us and look at its fur, you can see that it's puffed out, making it look really nice and soft and velvety. Just like our hair standing on end is a way to keep us warm, not only to tell our friends that we're cold and they should lend us their jacket, but it actually helps to trap air. So when antelope puff up their hairs like this, it does the same thing. It's kind of like putting a coat on. And it's really interesting how, oh, we have a zebra just nodding in. Oh, hello, zebra. Sure, we'll give you some attention too. I love it when we're zoomed into something and an animal just pokes its head through. Zebras, I was about to start speaking about piloerection. I know it sounds rude, but it's not. It's when we are able to lift up our hairs. So, of course, we're not as densely covered in hairs as our other mammal counterparts. but it's the same mechanism at play. So at the base of each one of these hairs, there's a tiny, 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 tiny muscle, and also a fluid-filled sac. And that fluid-filled sac can react or change depending on the temperature. So if it gets cold, fluid-filled sac might start to contract, and that gives it to the muscle. It's just a different type of hair. And imagine that happening across your body, lifting up little hairs. Donio and elephants pilo-erect any of their hairs, and it's so sparsely covered across their body that I actually wonder whether that portion of their anatomy, this micro anatomy almost, has become a little redundant. Being such large animals, they're when it comes to temperature to sufficiently cool down. Staying warm is really not their problem. Bridget McKinney, you say hello, welcome, thank you for joining us. Seltzer water and lemon sounds fantastic. We've got a couple doves here moving about. So you see on the right there where you see that patch of wetness? That was basically another little water hole a couple days ago. But it's been crazy here at the Waterhole. Animals taking advantage of everything. Okay, how about we head over to Jabulani? Oh, nice. I was hoping it would be these guys. I think yesterday I saw them hanging around on this dead tree as well. There were three of them in this dead tree. So this is a water monitor lizard. Beautiful coloration. And I suppose we are thinking a lot about, or we've been chatting a lot about temperature control when we saw those blessbok that started us off. And then Mindy Tillapau, you wanted to know, are they related to the topi, the blessbok that is? Yes, they are. Al Salafini, that tribe that the blessbok belong to, also includes the topi. Did I not mention topi earlier? No, I don't think so. I mentioned hartebeest, wildebeest, bontebok, tsessebe, but topi as well. So they are definitely related. So Kirst has just told me that there's also been a python hanging around in this tree over the weekend. Oh, wouldn't that be special, Mr. HUAE87? If we could see a snake for World Snake Day, that would be fantastic. But if we don't, I'm pretty happy with spending time with some water monitors. Now, back to what I was saying about temperature control. This is exactly what the water monitors are doing right now. This is a great time to collect the last bits of sunlight and the warmth that comes with it. Being winter, the sun is setting pretty early, the air is chilly, and that chill, you can really feel it from about 5 o'clock. Now it's 4:15, so this is a good time to collect those rays. Yes, maybe we can have a look around the other branches of the tree and see if there's anything else hanging around. Now there's a tree like this, obviously it's old, it's pretty much dead. It just keeps on giving. Though it's not living anymore, you can see it's completely lost its outer bark. It's quite clearly a dead tree. But I've seen water monitors get into trees like this, yes, to hang around, but also into little crevices and into little holes. And they tend to go face first into those holes with their tails kind of dangling out of them. And what I find most interesting is that so there was one time I had two water monitors go into a hollow of one of the arms of a dead tree. And it had its tail sticking out, just a little bit of the tail, just the end. So you kind of had to look very carefully to spot them. But they are clearly so flexible because without having to reverse out, the water monitor managed to turn in the hole with another water monitor in it and then come out snout first. And I don't really think about the flexibility when I see them, but if you think about the way they swim, the flexibility of that tail that can kind of propel them, and then also the way that they curve as they move around on the ground, it makes sense that they would be flexible. And if they're spending time in little holes, it also makes sense that they would be flexible. But they still have bony skeletons like all other land animals. So I wonder how they're able to reach that flexibility. Must be something related to their joints and the movement of their joints. But if you are somebody who has ever been involved in gymnastics or maybe even something like Pilates, or you're working on your flexibility, you'll know that it's not just about being able to stretch and reach certain poses with your stretch, it also takes strength. So perhaps their muscles have something to do with it too. Is there something living in there? I love to have a close look. I mean, the python could definitely be in there. I can't see anything, at least not for now. But apparently that's where the python was, in that kind of that Y split in that area. That's what you say, zygote? I remember, if you remember Monty, the python at Rosie's Pan, you would have seen him swim. And pythons are pretty good swimmers. So it could have slinked away back into the water, gone to land. Maybe it'll return. Maybe it's in that little hole. Kaoru, hi, you say you miss Monty. I know. Don't we all? Today would have been the perfect day to spend with Monty. Well, we'll keep an eye on this camera and see if the python comes back, but this is not a python, everyone. I love getting close-ups of elephant trunks because sometimes it kind of does look like a snake. Actually, more like an earthworm. Trucks sometimes seem to have a mind of their own, especially with the opening that looks like a mouth, which is in fact their nostrils all the way down there. Looks very wormy. This is also a really nice view of the cushioning around the feet that allow them to move so carefully through the bush and almost tread very lightly. It's amazing sometimes when you see them. Ooh, very nice. It's like a harrier-hawk, a hawk eagle. I only saw, or only paid attention to the top part of it, but it didn't have any fur, any feathers at the bottom. So I would say it's more likely a harrier-hawk. Oh, that's very cool. Now, when it comes to juvenile birds, I have a tough time, a very tough time, and I've got to go and check my app to see if they have anything on the juveniles. Yep, juvenile or immature African harrier hawk. It's quite interesting how, as oh, there we go. Hello. Oh, now you can see that wonderful brown color, far less black. So initially, that top half looked very much like an African hawk eagle, which I thought was interesting. And I wonder if that comes into play at all. Could oh, down it goes. Something's going on down there. Could juvenile animals um, resembling other larger or potentially dangerous animals be very beneficial? And I think so. Now, it's not something that I've read about with harrier hawks at all, but it's something that we know, for example, with cheetah cubs, with that mane kind of looking a little like honey badgers. Now, an adult harrier hawk doesn't have that streaking. Oh, that was some very good zooming here. Some very good zooming. So we could see that there was streaking on the chest of this juvenile harrier hawk, and that's not something that's present in the adults. The adults kind of have a gray bib almost, and then some barring across the breast. But the streaking here on this juvenile looks very much like an African hawk eagle. Could that be beneficial at first glance in case there's any predatory birds that are bigger than it that it catches the attention of? Maybe. It's an interesting thought. Down there on the ground, it looked a lot um, darker. But now up in the sun, you can see very clearly it's that wonderful dark brown. So these are really interesting birds to follow. I can't say that I've actually seen a juvenile harrier hawk um, in person, or maybe I have. I don't know. I've seen so much when it comes to being in the wild. If you're there for a long time, you end up seeing a lot. So maybe I have, but I most often come across adults, and I will always stop to spend time with an adult African harrier-hawk because they are so interesting to watch. They almost seem to have a personality, and that personality is a little bit sneaky, which I suppose is also a reason that it's interesting to watch them. But they have specialized portions to their talons that allow them to rotate. It's almost as if they're double jointed, allow them to rotate their talons. And that's especially good for when they want to take some of their favorite food, which include nestlings. They're great at robbing nests. They can have one foot firmly placed on the branch for stability and the other foot inside a hole, twisting around, trying to get hold of little chicks. Oh, are you going to do that right now? Just a little bit of practice. These birds will go after pretty much anything. They'll grab eggs, they'll grab mammals, reptiles, frogs, insects. As long as they can get it in their talons and in their beaks, that's all that matters. Oh, there we go. Giving it a little go. So this is exactly the type of behavior we'll see with adults. Although with adults, they are a little bit more confident, I would say. But it's displaying that exact type of behavior that we would see. Moving around trees, trying to get its talons into little crevices. Hmm, maybe it's feeling a little chilly. So, oh, off it goes. Maybe it'll be back on the ground again. So, one of the theories about why birds, particularly birds that don't have feathered feet, lift up one leg is that it could help to keep it warmer. We know that there's no feathers on their feet, so they're losing heat through the feet. And if they can lift one foot and get it closer to the body, it means they'll be only losing heat via the other. But that may not be the only thing at play. It might also be better for general energy conservation to be on one foot because somehow they manage to balance really well on one foot to the point where they don't actually use as much energy to stabilize on one foot than they do to stabilize on two. And that comes down to energy associated with the movement of muscles and grounding itself, which you would do with 2 feet. Even if you're standing on your own 2 feet, you're using muscles and engaging your tendons, etc., to be in that position. But somehow, when birds are on one foot, it can almost lock, and the body can actually like swing. It's sort of like an upside down pendulum. I know it's quite a strange thing. You would think if they are on 2 feet, it would make sense that that takes less energy than to try and balance on one. But with birds and certain locking mechanisms in their feet, it actually takes less energy to be on one foot than on two. I was just about to say, I think the bird has gone. Oh, I think I've seen this exact crocodile at Oliphant's River before because it looks in excellent condition. I don't know if it's where it happens to sit in the river. It's nice and shallow, so it's got this perfect reflection, but also the way it orientates itself with in relation to the sun. And we get to see these beautiful shadows cast by every one of those osteoderms, those protuberances that come out of their scales. Our scales are really, really interesting. Um, if you imagine millions of years ago, animals coming out of the ocean, making their way onto land. And in the ocean, you have so little to worry about. You're surrounded by liquid. I mean, obviously, I say that. Um, I suppose it's a little facetious, but it's a simple life. At least biologically, it's a simple life. You don't have to encapsulate your eggs in anything special. You can just let them float around. You don't have to worry about your body drying out because you're always in the ocean. There's always lubricant, there's always moisture around to keep you well oiled. But once animals started to move onto land, they say they faced a few difficulties. One of those difficulties was how to make sure that all the things that go on inside of us, which are mostly liquid based, the only things that are not are things like your hard bony structures, everything else is liquid based. So how can we make sure that none of that, I mean, it wouldn't ooze out of the skin, but skin would make it easier to become dehydrated. And that's where scales were really important. Imagine scales as kind of calloused skin, thickened, calloused skin. And that being fortified by the addition of keratin. So they became these hardy, sturdy structures. With crocodiles, they've taken it even further and included bone in those structures. And that's why we call them osteoderms. So osteo referring to bone and derms referring to skin. So the ridges that we see on this crocodile, those are the osteoderms. And it truly is like armor. Now, one thing I have wanted to do is count these last caudal um, scales, I suppose. So you see where the crocodile's tail is flattened, but then right at the tip it becomes laterally flattened. So a little more like a rudder. And I've always wanted to count how many there are here. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And I think there's a 12th one just under the water. Potentially there could be 13. But the reason I wanted to count them was because I've seen a few crocodiles that have the tip missing. And I've also wanted to figure out if they all have the same number of these spikes. And could the number of those indicate something or give us some indication of age? Now, with reptiles, sexual maturity is not necessarily related to age as much as it is related to size. And when we think about maturity in reptiles, we usually say that, um, uh, for example, a python is matured when it reaches over 1.4 meters or something like that. So I wonder if counting these scales can help us in determining, and these end ones, that is, help us in determining age, perhaps. Now, the total number of scales above that, where it's laterally flattened to the top of its head, those ones, they shouldn't, at least as far as I know, change in number. The only thing that changes is how big they are and how broad and wide they get. Hmm. Yeah, I think there's a 13th one there. Aging crocodiles is terribly difficult. Very, very, very difficult. So I'm just thinking out loud here. This is such a stunning view of this crocodile. So no, to me, this crocodile doesn't look particularly big. I would say it's a juvenile. It's in excellent condition. Uh, it seems to have every single scale. None are missing. None are damaged. At least it doesn't look damaged in any way. So it kind of looks young and beautiful. And that reflection is just stunning. Oh, I thought it was going to give us a little yawn. But no, just bobbing its head up and down a little bit. I had the great pleasure recently of seeing a crocodile yawn, but looking straight at the camera. So you could actually see the fleshy structures in its mouth as it was yawning. It was as if the camera was in its mouth, looking straight into the crocodile's mouth. And you could actually see that gula. Very nice. 10 out of 10 for beauty with this crocodile. Anyway, let's head over to Vic Falls. I always love that camera. There's an elephant there, but I'm sure, here we go. I'm sure we might see a marabou stork or a vulture poking about too. Now, if I were an elephant, oh, this elephant has a short trunk. Yep, definitely a short trunk. Possibly the result of an interaction with a crocodile. It could also be a snare, but this type of injury is something we see with crocodiles. Here pops in a marabou stork on the left there, nice. It's very interesting to see how this elephant continues to be pretty dexterous with its trunk, even though it's missing its finger-like protrusions at the end. See, it's still swirling around the grass to get a grip on it. Obviously, it's not able to do it with the same kind of ease. Oh, there we go. That is amazing. That is 100% learned behavior. Adaptation to an animal's problem. It's problem solving. it can't get the same kind of grip as elephants that have full length trunks. I want to just see if it does it again. So it swirls it around, gets a little bit of a grip on it, and then uses its tusk to break the grass against. Whoa! Oh, that is stunning. That is so cool to witness. I love thinking about the ways that, when we think about animals and species, we tend to think of them like on a population level. This is what this species does. This is how this species have solved this environmental problem or this problem in their habitat and adapted in this way. But here we are witnessing that kind of problem solving on an individual level. In the same way, I suppose, as us humans do. When you have a permanent disability or just a short term disability, maybe you've broken your foot or your arm or something like that, or something long term, you eventually learn to work with it and you adapt. And it's brilliant to be able to watch that right now. I mean, it almost looks like the marabou storks are as impressed as I am, or at least they looked as impressed as I am. Now they look a little bit over it. You can also see that this individual is collared. I wonder if there's somewhere we can find data on this individual. I mean, he's collared, he's easy to identify, he's displaying interesting behavior. I would love to find out. I'm sure we could with a little bit of investigation. Elephant trunks are extremely sensitive. So there's different types of nerve endings that measure different things. Um, some will measure temperature, pressure, pain, a combination of those things. And elephant trunks are quite sensitive to pressure. They've got these endings known as Ruffini endings in their trunks, and that I think really helps them as they navigate through the world using their trunks. How much do I pull? How much do I push? But also, I can identify so much by just putting my trunk around things. Oh, there we go. That one didn't need the task. Oh, yay! Kes said she was going to send us over to Jabalani quickly. I am wondering whether that is the python that we're seeing in there, because that does not look like part of the tree. There's some kind of patterning. Now, if you hadn't told me that this is where the python was seen and this is where it hangs out, I probably wouldn't have been able to see this and say, "Hey, it's the python." But now that I know that, I think that's where the python is, and I think that's the body that we're looking at. It's a great place to be. You can slink off into the water whenever you want. You can crawl up the tree, pull a Monty if it wanted to. An excellent spot. And since it's been here for a couple days, maybe we'll be able to spend more time with it. Oh, Amberco, you say you really enjoyed this show. As you've been wondering things, I've been answering them without you even having to ask. You say it's like you're sitting with me. Well, maybe one day you will. I love doing these shows with all of you. It makes me feel like I'm sitting with all of you too. Anyway, I really hope that you did enjoy the show. I will see you all on Thursday and have a good one wherever you are because it's time to say goodbye. Bye, everyone.